For the Love of the Game interview series. This is your host, Pete Janney. This is an interview series that brings on players, coaches, and other professionals in the sports industry. I have a very special guest, head coach of the Siena Saints men's basketball team, Carmen Maciariello. How are you doing, Carmen?
Hey, Pete, I'm great. How are you?
Great. Thanks for coming on. I know it's been a busy summer with everything, roster changes, personnel, bringing in new players, and obviously the start of practices here. So it's really great to have you on and kind of discuss the state of Siena basketball and where it's at right now. But what are you seeing from this team that, probably has a little bit of a chip on its shoulder coming into the season, after ending not how you wanted it to?
I think chip on the shoulder is a good word, but to be honest, this group has really been invigorating. We had two different small summer sessions where we had guys for 4 weeks at a clip. And then, we have them all come back and work our summer camp. We get over 200 kids from the community to come. And I really think it's important that they understand the value of teaching and being around the game and just bringing joy to kind of the youth that surround our campus and the capital region. So that's been great. But I would say our guys have really taken ownership of learning and just getting better every day. We've been really fundamental with our approach and really like what we've seen, to be honest with you, from our transfers, our freshmen, and our returners, primarily being sophomores.
Names from the portal that really stand out, obviously Sean Dura-Gordon coming over from Austin Peay, and then Giovanni Amajuru from Sam Houston. What have you seen from those guys so far, and what are they going to add to this roster?
First, just tremendous people. Thankful, appreciative, really value what we have at Siena College and just the way our athletes and our student athletes are taken care of. But Sean's a big guard, can play multiple positions, really has a great mid-range game, can get to the foul line. He's real physical. He can catch and finish above the rim. Whether it's back cuts or curls and being able to kind of put somebody under the rim and go up and finish. And Giovanni's a true five-man. He's got great feet. He's just a blank slate. He's so coachable and just we've been really, really basic with teaching the fundamentals of how we roll and how we catch and how we seal, how we carve out space on the offensive glass. So, those two guys have been phenomenal. And just really excited to keep coaching these guys because they all have a thirst to just get better. And, there's times in practice where I have to say, hey, don't worry about any mistakes. We'll show you it on film and we'll get better. Just let your instincts take over and let's play basketball.
I had Jackson Storm over the last couple of years, who was one of the best bigs in the league, all MAAC player. He's now no longer in the equation. He's moved on. How big is it going to be for a guy like Giovanni to fill in that hole? And really, is it just going to be a learning experience starting out, you think?
Yeah, so we've talked about him being able to play through his mistakes. He was in a situation at Sam Houston where, all the intel we got, he was, kind of one mistake and he was getting yanked out of the game. I want him to play through his mistakes. I want him to continue to develop. And that's the way you're going to get better, right? Being thrown into fire, playing through those mistakes and then growing and having confidence and having everyone believe in you and hey, saying next play. That's really important. And, to be honest, it's great because Killian Gribben, who's coming back, and then Max Frazier, who's an incoming freshman, all three of those guys are going to be able to play the five, but also Max and Killian can play the four, as well as Michael Ojo, who's an incoming freshman too. So, we're really excited for that, to be able to kind of have some diversity on our front line, some length, some athleticism. They all have quick feet, which is really important for how we want to guard ball screens, but also how we want to play offensively. But yeah, Giovanni's going to be able to play through his mistakes, and we're excited. I mean, he is all 6'10", 255 that's listed. He is looking like he play on Sunday for football.
You also mentioned Killian Gribben. He has yet to arrive yet, coming back from Ireland. What can you talk about his summer and really, the development that he's trying to show here?
He really played well for the Irish national team. I think he led them and he led the tournament in double doubles, and I think he led it in blocks as well. So, Killian's a guy that can be a stretch 4 or a stretch 5, but he's just a student of the game. His basketball acumen is a really high level. and he's a guy, especially with Gio at the 5. If he's at the 4, we have another shot blocker, a rim protector, a guy that can stretch the floor and play in the pocket. So just really excited about him. I think the biggest thing for him, as we talked after the season, was just, remaining, hungry in the weight room and just trying to put on weight. But no, we're excited to see him and get him back here this coming Sunday.
Also made, changes to the staff as well. So when you look at the staff, you got a couple of new guys coming. So Andy Farrell, he joins from Dayton, and then you got Derek Brooks, gets elevated to the bench from Dobo, and then also Jonathan Pickett taking over as Dobo. What could you say about how these guys have done so far, and how excited are you to have them in their new roles?
Yeah, it's always great when you can have assistants move on. Obviously Greg Fay, he did a great job. He was with me from the beginning and was an ops to an assistant, and he is now at Georgetown with one of my mentors, Ed Cooley. And then obviously Coach Theus, who did a tremendous job for us as well, gets to go back to his alma mater at VCU. And, Darius played a key role in their NCAA tournament run back with Coach Smart. So excited for those guys to move on and to be able to have assistants, get experience at Siena and then keep growing. But super excited. Derek Brooks, he brought a workman's mentality. Obviously he played at Air Force and, has that military background. And I felt at the time for my operations, I really needed some structure and some, organizational kind of management, and Derek solidified that, brought that to a high level, and I was excited to be able to reward him. He was up for a couple other assistant spots, and I was able to kind of retain him and reward him for his hard work. Andy Farrell coming from Dayton, I wanted somebody that could really run my film and really, be a teacher, help us just be organized and kind of oversee recruiting and, more or less be a guy that could kind of have his hands kind of in everything to just give us a little more pop, to be able to do some things, maybe how Dayton does it in the Atlantic 10. We, did some things, how VCU did it from when Darius was there with Mike Rhodes. And so I'm always looking to add, and we always want to be at the highest level we can. So, if there's different things we can do, whether it's with an official visit or with how we recruit or with how we, break down film, that's the one thing I think, we need to do a better job at is really being concise and pointed in our film study. So we're really working on that with Andy, and he's done a great job, even just coming up with our grading system for how we want to evaluate, ourselves after games, after practices. So our guys really have a clear, concise message of what's expected. I feel that's going to be one of the biggest things that'll get us kind of over that hump.
And for our viewers, there's Reese Maciariello checking in there, enjoying her summer so far. So one of the big Siena basketball fans picked up 2 huge wins over Albany in the Cup, and then also St. Bonaventure's as well. What could you say about those rivalries and really how big of wins those were for you going into MAAC play last year?
Yeah, the Bonaventure series is great, right? Because it's our sister school. Mark Schmidt's a tremendous coach. I have so much respect for that program. They're always contending in the Atlantic 10, and it's a true home and home. Right. So it's not a guarantee they're not afraid to come to the MVP arena and play. And we're not afraid to go to Olean, New York, which isn't my favorite place in the world. But, that for us, that's everything. And then obviously the Albany Cup's great for the people of the Capital Region. And it's something that I think, it can kind of, bring fans in. It helps with attendance figures. We had, I think, over 10,000 there last year. Our guys enjoy playing in the game. But for me too, the 2 bigger wins were the Florida State and the Seton Hall win, down in Orlando, because it showed, hey, we're building rosters and teams to compete at the national level, right? We're not trying to build a roster to compete in the MAAC. We're building a roster that, we get to the NCAA tournament, we have a chance to win games with how our roster's built. We do that with our metrics, with what we look for in positional size and all that kind of stuff too. So really excited though. I think obviously anytime you have a chance to play for cups during the season, it adds a little flavor and it kind of gets a little more pep in your step.
ESPN Events Invitational, which you guys finished third place, huge wins over Florida State and Seton Hall. Obviously, Seton Hall led by former MAAC guy and Shaheen Holloway as well too. So what was that like? Obviously you go through the MAAC rivalry playing against Shaheen, and then you see him down, and he's coaching a high major team down in Florida. What could you say about that experience? You got back at Shaheen after his Elite Eight run.
Yeah, and we were the last team to beat St. Peter's as well before they went on that run. So, no, it's always great. We're all competitors. Shaheen is, a friend, and he does a great job, and Rasheem Davis and his whole staff. It's always good to see that. I would say it did help that we were familiar with a lot of their actions and how they wanted to play in terms of our prep. But it was always a positive when you can beat a Big East team on a neutral floor.
That 7-game winning streak, right? You as I mentioned, the win over Bonaventure, you beat American, you go into the MAAC, and you come out of the gate hot. You win, I think you win your first 6 games in the MAAC, and you guys are rolling. You have the story in the program about Michael Baer and losing his father to his battle of cancer, and Michael having that inspiring performance against St. Peter's. Did you feel like at that point in time that, and I know things happened, injuries happened, but that team had something special brewing? And what could you say about the story, of John Baer and really what that brought to the locker room?
It still kind of gives me chills just thinking about everything we went through. And, I thought it was going to be kind of a team of destiny. We played so well, with the nice win at home over Iona on Coaches versus Cancer night. We had that little hiccup at Canisius after we won at Niagara. We played with so many different lineups during that 7-game winning streak, right? Javian McCullum gets hurt at the end of the Bonaventure game. Jace Johnson plays at point against American. And then, we go home for Christmas, and, Jace was stuck in Buffalo during a blizzard, so we couldn't get him back. He gets hurt in the Quinnipiac game. And, so there was just so many different obstacles and hurdles, but these guys stuck together. And then obviously you throw on top of it, right? Mr. Baer comes out, and it really hits home. I had Jared Billups, such a special young man, and we're getting ready. It's the day before we play St. Peter's, and I think it was the weekend. It was St. Peter's and Ryder back to back at home, and Mr. Baer, Michael tells me, hey, my dad's going to come out. He had to get cleared by the doctors. If he comes, they're telling him he may not make it home. He may die in Albany. And Mike's like, Coach, he's fine with it. He just wants to be in the arena. And I still get a little broken up just talking about it, right? Because, you think about your fathers and, just growing up and when I played, and my dad battled bladder cancer as well and beat it. But, I had guys coming to me, and I had planned on starting Michael anyway, but I had Jared Billups, texting me, hey, Coach, can we talk? And I'm thinking, hey, is everything okay? And he's like, yeah, Coach, everything's fine. He comes into, the coach's locker room at MVP and says, hey, Coach, we want you to start Mike Baer. I said, that's great, because I'm starting Mike Baer, and I was thinking the same exact thing. So then, we had that, but I do think not only did the Italy trip take a toll on us with, kind of peaking a little earlier, but obviously I think the emotional kind of freight train we were going through with Mr. Baer. And then we also had another loss with Evan Franz, who was an honorary team member, who our guys were super close with. And actually Jalen Pickett and I were at his 16th birthday party at the Capital District YMCA up here in Clifton Park. And, we celebrated him then. And so I was, still close with Jalen as well. But we dealt with all that. But yeah, Pete, to answer your question, I thought by us going through that, it was going to make us kind of unbreakable. and we were going to really, really rally around it. But then I just think, the injuries and different things kind of crept in to the team with, whether this guy was playing or this guy was hurt, and we couldn't practice as hard as I wanted to, and
Right.
we couldn't get to the next level within our offense or our defense with our rotations or with our level of execution, because our lineups were changing so much. So we were doing enough to win games early on where I could change lineups, but then once you get into league play, there's no more secrets, right? Teams are going to take away certain things, and then you got to adjust. And we did the best we could, and we're 2 or 3 possessions away of winning probably 4 or 5 more games. Yep. Where we don't get a box out and they call a foul on a rebound at Ryder, and then we turn it over. We had a lead there. Game up 7 at St. Peter's with probably 1:10 left, and Javian gets a charge and then has a turnover on back-to-back possessions. And I guess the toughest thing would be, and I think this is what all mid-major coaches are going through, I'm giving you the opportunity to grow through your mistakes. But now I'm not going to be able to reap those benefits of trusting you to grow through those mistakes, because now you're gone, right? So there's that fine line with, okay, well, now maybe I need to be more direct and more of a disciplinarian with how I want things done, because there isn't as much time to get things right or to let people play through as many mistakes or to grow through shared experiences.
Mm-hmm. And, that first half of the MAAC regular season obviously was a success too. We mentioned the winning streak, the big win over Iona 2 at MVP Arena. Didn't end the way you guys wanted to. Lost the last 4 of the regular season. How different was that going into Atlantic City? Whereas in previous years, you've had, coming off MAAC regular season championships twice, under your leadership, and then, having to end on that note. How much of an adjustment did you have to make in terms of getting across to your players?
I just think it's a different world being able to manage the portal and NIL and how guys are playing and just, social media and expectations and rumors. And, there's so much you can do, and you can talk about it in-house and say, hey, we play for Siena and we wish you guys the best of luck. But right now we have to play for our seniors, right? The guys that are running out of eligibility, we have to play for. I wouldn't say anything other than, we weren't able to grow as much as we needed to, right? We didn't have the opportunity. Jackson Stormo's playing the last 6 games with a separated shoulder that required, major surgery. Now he's healthy. He's going to go play professionally overseas. So I'm happy for him. And then obviously Andrew Platek, I think, just kind of hit a wall a little bit coming back from the Achilles, was finally feeling good. But, he didn't shoot the ball at the level he was shooting it all season in our last, 6 games down the stretch. Then you had, Jordan Kellier goes down before we go out to Buffalo, and he starts, instead of Jace Johnson, Jace goes down, Jordan starts, then Jordan breaks his foot. I just think eventually it all kind of piled up. So I've also taken a look at that with how we train and how much running we do in season. We have Connects on now, which is going to GPS track us with our mileage and our usage. So I think that'll help. We're working with Shore Athlete to personality test our guys. So we're getting to know them at a deeper level earlier, because now we don't have as much time. So we're doing everything we can to continue to grow that. And then I also think, our mental toughness wasn't where it needed to be. In the past, you have the Elijah Burns, the Manny Campers, the Jalen Pickett's, you have some guys that had been through it and that were seasoned. And then you're dealing with guys that, were freshmen into sophomores. And, sometimes your older guys were, a little different. Like, our leadership council was all older guys that had kind of all different things they had been through. Right. So I think that's something I looked at as well. And every year is different with who steps up in leadership roles. And we always talk about, hey, if you're more worried about the guy next to you, to your left and to your right than yourself, we're going to have a successful season. And I think, obviously 17 games and finishing in the top 3 for the 4th straight year is great. But this is Siena. We want to get to the NCAA tournament and win games.
Yep. what could you say about this program's ability to develop guards? Jalen Pickett, goes on now. He got drafted by the Denver Nuggets. You had a guy like Jordan King come through Siena. Javion McCollum now with Oklahoma. What is it about your system that plays into the strength of these skillful and athletic guards like a Javion McCollum that maybe doesn't come around all the time?
Yeah, I think it starts with just staff that's connected and communicates and really evaluates talent. I think is believing in players, right? Being able to, help kids. I mean, the Jalen Pickett story was crazy because I was an assistant at GW the first time I spoke to Jalen, and obviously I was a former City Rocks player, and Jalen was a City Rocks player. And, I still remember I called Jalen the first time we spoke. He asked if I was offering, and I said, no, I'm just calling to say hello and introduce myself. And then obviously I told Shaheen Holloway at St. Peter's about him when I was still at GW. And then all of a sudden Jamian gets Siena. And that's when I started, telling those guys about Jalen. And then Javion McCollum, it was crazy because it's after COVID. And, we still have Nick Hopkins coming back. And, we still have, some different guys. But, I saw Javion on film for a workout down in South Florida, and literally I'm just watching, drills and some 5-on-5, and I just liked how he moved with the ball. I liked how he handled. I liked how he kind of could glide with the ball. I liked how he could shoot and had touch. Obviously, I didn't know he was going to be that good, right? I thought he did have a tough freshman year, just being able to navigate being away from home and college, college life, academically, socially, like I said, being away from home, but then also the physicality of the game where he struggled a little bit. So I didn't want to play him too much coming off those concussions because, I wanted to make sure he was going to be healthy and in a safe place. I didn't want to also, put him at a disadvantage. And then just being able to let guys play, right? Believing in them, giving them freedom. I love it when I don't have to call a set play and guys can just make reads and drive the ball and have the confidence to take a shot. And that's what we sell. We want guys to come in, and now it's, hey, come for 2 years. And if you do what you're supposed to do and we win, right, that's the biggest thing. Coaches don't want to recruit guys that don't win, and we win to a degree. You'll have other opportunities. And then the goal is to hopefully try to keep you. And we were trying to keep JV, and obviously with Saints March On in our collective, which is great. Frank Ambrose does an amazing job. All of his counterparts that help too, we're very thankful for. But I think it's just having an eye for talent, having a staff that's locked into the details and knowing what we want. And then also, getting to know the person, right? We want to make sure we get the right people at Siena. We feel, we have a special place, and we want to make sure we find special kids that want to come and do something great.
Nowadays, and with the transfer portal getting so busy and NIL being such a big thing, you have state legislation, including New York passing its own legislation. But Siena basketball has a great history, great facilities. Why is Siena still an attractive destination era of name, image, and likeness?
Yeah, so I think one, you alluded to it, right? We give our guards freedom and we let our guys play. We believe in them. We want guys that want to play professional basketball, whether it's here in the States or overseas. So they have to be serious, right? And then they also, if they want to be a professional, more times than not, they're going to be a professional in the classroom. And I think that's kind of shown in our team GPAs and in how we handle our business off the court, how we handle our business in the community. But I think for us to have a fan base, which I'm so thankful for, that was part of the reason I transferred to Siena, right? I wanted to play in front of fans. I was at the University of New Hampshire. The only time we got fans was when we played Maine. And, they brought a busload of people down and our fans wouldn't even go up to Maine. So, to have over 6,500 fans, to be in the top 100 in attendance for 24 straight years, that says a lot about our community and our support for Siena college basketball. Having been the lone Division I school in the area for a long time,
Right.
I think helps. Having so many alums that just come back to campus to say hello, to just check in and, really appreciate the type of people we bring, the type of student athletes we bring in. So I think when you couple a fan base that's hungry and wants to win, And then on top of it, like you said, now you have a collective. Let's be honest, there's so many good high school players out there. We're not using the collective to try to just, buy players, right? It's, hey, let's enhance their experience once they decide that Siena's the spot for them. Let's be able to get them different things that are going to help them grow into be the best player and the best person they can be at Siena, to give back to our community, and then hopefully be a leader in whatever field they choose once that ball stops bouncing.
Back a couple of years ago, this is even before name, image, and likeness came about in the summer of 2021. Here we are at the MAAC tournament 2020. Your team is coming off the MAAC regular season title, led by the likes of Jalen Pickett, Manny Camper. Great team. What were you hearing going into that tournament? And, in terms of COVID and everything, and was that something that was already kind of creeping into the locker room at that point in time? And obviously it ended up ending things.
That team was on a 10-game winning streak. It was funny. We had just beat Manhattan in the quarterfinals, and I want to say the NBA had just started canceling games.
Yep.
And then it wasn't 24 hours later that, we're told that, hey, the tournament's off, but if there's an NCAA tournament, you guys are going because you're the returning regular season champs and you're the highest remaining seed, because we had won our game and there was no one else, that was the number one seed. There was no three-way ties or anything. We celebrated at PF Chang's in the Tropicana. But it was disappointing, right? Because that's that team, and it's funny, some of my former staff that was on that team, and some of those guys, it was Elijah, Don Carey, Jordan King, Manny Camper, Matt Hine, Jalen, obviously. And, they talk about it, with the likes of Fran McCaffrey's best teams, with Kenny Hasbrook, Edwin Ublis, Ronald Moore, Alex Franklin, Ryan Rossiter. And I think that's what's great, but, woulda, shoulda, coulda, right? Like, we'll never know if that team was going to be destined to win in the NCAA tournament. And then obviously, Elijah was done, and, we come back and then we don't have a non-conference the following season.
Yourself, 2 MAAC regular season titles, and also 39 wins in your first 56 MAAC league games. That ties Mike Dean, Siena Hall of Famer. You've achieved a lot so far. How excited are you to get started again and really just getting this season started? What do your summers look like, away from the court, and how do you try to stay ready for when that comes?
Yeah, I think I get very excited, and I love just thinking about the season. Like, there's no better feel than media day. And I think this year too, we're going to Atlantic City for actually a real media day, which would be cool. But, I still get, the adrenaline going, and just, want the season to start. I'm a little laid back in the summer. I kind of let the staff do a little more. I'll take some vacations. I got 3 little ones who love the beach. So, we'll go away. My wife's from Boston, so we'll get back to Boston a good amount. And for me, it's about, letting our guys also be kids. I don't want these guys, 24/7 basketball. I think sometimes you bring in freshmen that are hungry, and there's all of a sudden they're not sleeping and they're getting up at 5 a.m. because they want to do the extra. And listen, we'll give you everything you need in practice and in a weight room and in conditioning. There's a pace to the offseason that you got to kind of adhere to. So we just do real fundamental work in the offseason, in the summertime. Try to enjoy the guys. My family's around a lot in the summer. All of our guys work camp. We'll do some community service. We do a great job with, finishing different basketball courts in the community where we can kind of refurbish them and kind of give back to different not-for-profits. But no, every year is a new year, and I can't say I'm super excited. I love this group. I love the guys. There's just a great feel, a great way about them with their approach. And like I said, it's it's special just to be able to be a coach and to be a leader. And it's something that I cherish and really am honored to do. And, people don't understand the amount of time or thought that goes into everything we do, besides our wives and families.
Mm-hmm. Second straight year, Siena basketball has helped refurbish a court in the local community. And then also, you mentioned Evan Franz earlier, and I want to go back to him for a second. You were introduced to Evan through the Pay It Forward initiative that was launched by Siena alum Joe Watroba. Could you talk about really that relationship that you have and really just the relationships you have with a lot of local organizations?
Yeah. So obviously, Joe was a manager, and he worked for Fran when Fran McCaffrey was at Siena, was diagnosed with cancer and beat it. And, Fran got to Iowa, and, obviously you watched an Iowa football game, you see the hospital overlooking the field. And so that kind of gave the Watrobas an idea. And so Ken Raymond, who's a big Siena booster and fan and alum, just has been around. And so they launched this Play It Forward 518, where they have honorary captains that come out every home game when they can, and they toss a ball up for our guys. And they brought Evan to our attention, and we had a chance to meet him. And next thing you know, he's traveling with us. His dad's bringing him on road trips. And, I just think we have a chance to give so much back and help people, see the positive, right? No matter what their circumstance is. And obviously Evan had an inoperable brain tumor, but we were able to kind of give him some joy and just make him feel a part of something special. And, I'm just honored that we can do that, right? That we can make somebody's day brighter and help them. And that's why I like trying to help all those organizations, whether it's Play It Forward 518 or, the local YMCAs or Captain Youth.
Sure.
Coaches versus Cancer, obviously, Leukemia Lymphoma Society. I mean, we try to get in touch with everything that can just help, because I also think it's a great life lesson for our young men to see that it's not just about scoring points. It's about being able to help people. And I also think that's why we make sure we recruit the right guys, because they appreciate that as well.
Around, the program and its alums, what you've been up to this summer. We talked about Keelan playing for the Irish national team. Jalen Pickett just got drafted to the NBA, which is pretty cool. Have you spoke to Jalen, since then?
Yeah, just a congratulatory text. Just told him I was proud of him, and it was great to see. I know his agent fairly well. Same agent that represents Anthony Lamb, who is another former Rochester City Rocks guy.
Right.
And it's great to see. Hopefully Jalen's in the NBA a long time, and just excited that we were able to be a part of his journey, and that our fans had the ability to watch him play live and understand that, hey, we do a good job evaluating.
Were you able to catch a glimpse of Manny Camper as well in the basketball tournament playing for the VCU team?
Yeah, I watched a little bit. I think it was on at like 4:00 the other day, so caught a little bit. I know he had a nice block. They were down actually big, and they came back to cut it to, I think, 9 before the Elam ending got them.
When you look ahead to the non-conference, what stands out for this coming season?
Yeah, so I can't get in trouble because it's not officially released yet. But it'll be challenging, just like it is every year. We got multiple Atlantic 10 foes. Obviously, we know we always played Bonaventure, so we have to defend that cup out there in Olean. We're playing at Richmond in part of a Gazelle Group event. Then we go down to Daytona Beach for 2 games. Those opponents haven't been identified fully yet. We got a return game still to American, so there's year 3 of a 4-year deal. So COVID kind of screwed 2 of those up. So it would be a home game. Would have been a home game last year, but the following year it'll be home. We'll open with Holy Cross. Obviously Dave Paulson there now.
Yeah.
And then we got a couple new series that we started. 2 home series and 1 road series we started on top of 1 bye game. So just Excited. I think anytime we can play games against Atlantic 10 schools, whether it's on the road or at home, good Patriot League, Ivy League, America East, we want to try to stay. It'd be great if we could get home and homes with, Power 6 conference teams, but that just really doesn't happen. Even if we did, 2-for-1s or 3-for-1s, I mean, we always try to, strategically look for those. But I do really like the 3-game MTE where you play a game and then maybe play 2 at a neutral, or even, like I said, that ESPN event. I don't think people give Rich Enser, our obviously just recently retired commissioner, enough credit, because the vision he had to be able to have the MAAC run that Orlando event at Disney to give MAAC teams a chance to showcase what we could do on a national stage was paramount. I was a little disappointed to find that no MAAC team, jumped in there this year to play, because it's money. You got to pay some money to go, but you're helping our conference. You're able to kind of put our conference on the national stage. I mean, if you look at the last 2 schools that have played in it, Siena won 2 games, and I want to say, Iona, at least I think they beat Alabama 2 years ago. So hey, that's the goal, right? We want to showcase the MAAC, and I think obviously our new commissioner has some vision. He's made some campus stops, and so I'm excited to meet him in person as well.
And also Siena hosting the opening rounds of the NCAA tournament this year at MVP Arena. What could you say about that, and how great that was for Siena hoops?
Oh, it was awesome. We had so many fans go. Our players, some of the guys got to go to games. Just to be able to see, that's where we want to be, right? We want to be playing in the NCAA tournament, and the energy and enthusiasm in the arena was tremendous. So, credit to everybody involved with bringing that to MVP.
Let's go for a second back to the 2009 opening round game. Number 9 Siena against number 8 Ohio State. Do you remember watching that game where you were, and obviously the incredible upset that ensued?
I was an assistant at Fairfield. I lived on 11 o'clock road in Fairfield, right off of where the Hi-Ho Hotel was.
Sure. Yep.
And Barcelona's, because you're a Connecticut guy, right?
That's literally 5 minutes from me.
Yeah. So I remember I lived in a in-law apartment on the side of a garage. The guy who lived in the house and his wife and kids, he was an MTV executive. So he would take the train into the city every morning at like 5 a.m. And I remember sitting on the couch. I had some fresh mozzarella and a stick of pepperoni and an Amstel Light, and I was enjoying the game. And obviously everyone remembers Ronald Moore. But yeah, what a tremendous game. I remember, I think it was the year before, they lost to Villanova. And it was, I want to say, Easter Sunday, because I remember where I was for that one too. So yeah, no, that was probably the toughest loss for me as an assistant, was when we're up 18 at the Times Union Center against Siena, and we lose in overtime in the championship game.
You've been around the conference for a long time. Obviously, you played at Siena, and now you're carrying the mantle as head coach. You were an assistant at Fairfield, like you said. This coming season, do you almost feel like this has been the most wide open it's been in a long time, given, obviously Iona, Rick Pitino is no longer in the conference? Yeah. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's funny, right? I think you can always throw out the projected finishes, no matter what they are. I think you can always throw them out the window. But I would have to agree. I think the league's always open because it's the MAAC and wild things happen. But yeah, I would agree with you. I think this is probably it's going to be the craziest, most wide open MAAC season that anyone's seen. And that's why it's so important, right? Every single game so important. Every single possession so important. I mean, if you look, this is a 2 or 3 possession league, right? I mean, that could swing a season, couple pole positions.
Well, Carm, I really appreciate you coming on. That's a wrap. You're always welcome on here. You got a great program at Siena, and really enjoy the work you guys are doing on and off the court. So it's been a pleasure to watch.
No, thanks. I appreciate the time, and I think you guys do a tremendous job. I love helping out young guys that are, looking forward to building their careers, and hopefully the MAAC is just the first stop in a long journey for you. So thanks for taking the time and being able to talk some Siena basketball.